She bought a house for $1, spent 37 weeks fixing it with no professional training. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, while the plaster was coming off the walls and the floors had holes straight through to the basement, she quietly built a financial position that most people with conventional careers haven't come close to touching by 31 years old. That person is Tia Weston, a former health insurance worker from Louisville, Kentucky, who moved to one of the least populated states in the country and turned abandoned houses into one of the fastest growing renovation channels on YouTube. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where the money comes from, why the number is bigger than most people expect, and why the real story isn't the dollar, it's what she built around it. Before the $1 house, before North Dakota, before any of this, there was a desk job and a mortgage that wasn't working. Tia Weston was born on January 16, 1995, in Louisville, Kentucky. She grew up in nearby Fairdale with her parents, Brad and Cindy, and her younger brother, Brent. By her early 20s, she had done what most people in her position do, got a steady job, bought a house, and tried to make the numbers work month to month. The job was health insurance processing. It paid, but it didn't pay enough. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit and the economy destabilized, Tia found herself in a situation that millions of younger homeowners recognized immediately. The salary she had wasn't covering the mortgage she owed. Not dramatically, not catastrophically, but consistently. Every month, the math was tighter than it should have been. What she did next wasn't bold in the dramatic sense. There was no big announcement, no viral moment. She just decided to renovate the Louisville house, not because she had the skills or the background for it, but because she had no real alternative. She did the work herself, learned as she went, and when she was finished, she sold the house for roughly $30,000 in profit. $30,000, not life-changing on its own, but enough to ask a different question than the one she'd been living inside. Most people who sell a house for a profit put the money toward the next one and repeat the same cycle. What Tia did instead is why the rest of this story goes the direction it does. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around her saw coming. She didn't use that $30,000 to buy back into the Louisville market. She didn't move to a city with a hot real estate scene or go somewhere obvious. She moved to North Dakota. That decision sounds random on the surface. North Dakota is not a place people relocate to for opportunity. It's flat, cold, and famously underpopulated. But that's exactly the point. Tia wasn't looking for a hot market. She was looking for a market where houses were genuinely cheap enough that renovation profit margins were achievable on a modest budget. Houses in the small North Dakota town she was targeting were selling for under $100,000. In Louisville, and in most comparable American cities in 2021 and 2022, that kind of price point had essentially disappeared. The math she needed simply didn't exist in Kentucky anymore. When she arrived in North Dakota, she bought a house for $60,000, renovated it, sold it, made another $30,000 in profit. That was the second flip in a short window, and it gave her $60,000 total to work with, plus the experience of 2 completed renovations that she had learned almost entirely on the job. No construction degree, no professional background, no formal training of any kind. Just 2 houses, $60,000 in profit, and a growing understanding of what these old, neglected properties actually required. At this point in the story, most people walked away. What she did instead is the part nobody talks about. Woody and Noishin Yun, the third property, started the way a lot of her discoveries did, by accident. Tia was out house hunting in the small North Dakota town where she'd settled when she came across a 1-bedroom property with a foundation so unstable, the whole structure looked like it was deciding whether or not to collapse. She walked away from that one. But before she left, the seller mentioned something else. Another property, one that had belonged to his family for decades. He'd been using it for storage. He didn't have the heart to let it go to a fire training course, which is where it was headed. And he said, essentially, that he would give it away if someone was willing to fix it. She went to look. The house was built in 1924. The previous owner had passed away in December 2005, and from that point until Tia walked through the door, time had simply stopped. Cigarette butts were still stubbed out in an ashtray. Dishes sat dusty on the drying rack, exactly where they'd been left. A kitchen calendar was still pinned to December 2005. In some spots, the damaged floorboards gave way to a direct view into the basement below. No running water, no heat, no functional electrical, no plumbing. Tia offered the owner $1. He accepted. The legal price of the property, documented on the sale paperwork, was $1 United States dollar. That number would become the hook that introduced her story to the wider internet. But the actual cost of that house was much closer to $40,000 by the time the renovation was complete. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. $1 to buy the house, $40,000 to make it livable. That gap is the part that gets left out of the headline, and it's also the part that tells you the most about how Tia's financial picture actually works. She had $32,000 left from the sale of the Louisville home after costs. That covered the bulk of the renovation, structural repairs, a new roof, though remarkably, much of the original 1924 timber shingles were still sound, electrical rewiring, plumbing, walls, ceilings, and flooring. She and her father did the majority of the physical labor themselves, 37 weeks. A 1924 house, with no utilities, in a North Dakota winter that dropped to -20 degrees during active construction. The remaining gap, roughly $8,000 to $13,000 depending on the final accounting, came from somewhere that most renovation channels never have to think about. It came from the channel itself. As she documented the project, the videos accumulated views. The views generated AdSense income. That income, earned in real time as the renovation progressed, covered the shortfall between what she'd saved and what the project needed. She wasn't just building a house, she was running a media operation that was paying for the build as it happened. That feedback loop, spend money on renovation, film the renovation, earn money from the film, reinvest in the renovation, is the engine behind almost everything she has built financially since. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. When Tia moved into the finished $1 house, she'd been building her channel for a few years. The growth at that point was real but modest. What changed was the $1 house series itself, because it wasn't just a renovation show. It was a financial story that resonated with an entire generation of younger Americans who had been priced out of real estate and were watching someone figure out an alternative model in real time. The comment that circulated in her community and got repeated across platforms summed it up better than any thumbnail caption could. A 74-year-old subscriber wrote in to say, "This is what I dreamed of doing my whole adult life. You're living my fantasy." And a significant part of her audience felt exactly that, not because they were 74, but because the dream of owning something, building something, making it yours with your own hands, had started to feel genuinely out of reach for a lot of people. The channel crossed 100,000 subscribers while the first house was still being renovated. Then it kept growing. By mid-2026, the subscriber count sits at over 720,000. Total views across the channel have passed 75 million. The Facebook community around her content has grown to over 1.6 million page likes. The Instagram following is over 400,000. Those numbers matter for one specific reason. They set the floor for what the channel generates monthly in AdSense revenue alone, before any other income source is added. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. YouTube channels in the home renovation and lifestyle category earn at higher than average CPM rates. CPM, cost per mil, is what advertisers pay per 1,000 views. Home content, DIY content, and property-related content pull some of the strongest advertising rates on the platform because the audience skews toward homeowners, renters actively looking to improve their spaces, and people in active purchase decisions for tools, materials, and home goods. For a channel generating over 75 million lifetime views, with a growing upload cadence and consistent weekly releases, estimates across multiple independent tracking services place Tia's monthly AdSense income somewhere between $12,000 and $17,000. That's a wide range, and the variance depends on seasonal ad rates, the specific CPM her audience generates, and how views are distributed across her video library in any given month. At a conservative midpoint of roughly $14,000 per month, that's approximately $168,000 per year in AdSense income alone. But AdSense is only one layer. Her YouTube channel bio directs sponsorship inquiries to Night Co., a professional creator talent management company. This is not a small detail. Creators who manage their own sponsorships operate at a significant disadvantage to creators represented by agencies who negotiate rates, secure recurring deals, and handle contract terms at scale. Tia's active sponsorships include Factor, the meal delivery service, which appeared with a working promo code in a May 2026 video. For a channel her size in the home and lifestyle space, a single integrated sponsorship can command anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 per video, depending on the deal structure. Then there's the real estate equity itself. She currently holds the completed $1 house, a fully renovated property she lives in. She has also purchased a second abandoned property at $15,000, which she is actively renovating and documenting. 2 properties in a low-cost North Dakota market, owned outright or near outright, represent tangible asset value beyond what any income estimate captures. When you add the AdSense floor, the brand deal income, the real estate equity, and whatever she has retained from the 2 earlier flips that generated $60,000 in profit, the reported net worth estimate of approximately $500,000 by 2026 stops being surprising. It starts making obvious sense. She never talked about this publicly, until now. Here is the detail about Tia Weston's operation that the general commentary almost always skips past. She built a repeating financial model, not a one-time viral moment. Every house she buys is cheap enough that the renovation cost is manageable on a self-funded basis. Every renovation is filmed and serialized, generating ongoing views and AdSense income that accumulate across the life of the series. The content funds the project becomes the content. And the completed property adds to a real estate portfolio that exists independently of how the channel performs. If the channel stopped tomorrow, the properties remain. If a renovation stalls, the channel income covers the gap. If neither happens, and neither has as of mid-2026, the 2 systems reinforce each other in a way that most side hustles never achieve. She did this without a business degree, without a construction certification, without a producer or an editor or a crew. The father who helped reshingle that 1924 roof was not a professional contractor. The woman learning to run electrical for the first time in her late 20s was not someone who had trained for it. What she had was a camera, a consistent upload schedule, every Sunday at 8 in the morning Mountain Time, without exception, and an audience that grew because they were watching something they recognized as real. The renovations are real. The money problems were real. The cold was real. The holes in the floor were real. And that authenticity, in a content landscape increasingly full of manufactured drama and staged reveals, is what made people stay. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. LaFord then sends him, or close enough to it. As of mid-2026, the final details are going in. A stained glass window installed in the attic, which Tia described on camera as completely changing the mood of the space. The plan is to add backlit lighting behind the panel, which will push the reds and greens through the glass and turn a storage room into what she called a potential meditation or yoga space. But the more significant development is what she's already doing next. She has purchased her 3rd property in North Dakota, a home that also sold for $15,000, also abandoned, also frozen in time since 2005, the same year the $1 house owner passed away. This one also has crumbling foundations, also has plaster falling from the walls, also has structural damage that would make most people walk away from the deal without looking back. And her stated reason for buying it is almost entirely non-financial. Her small North Dakota town has houses sitting empty for years at a time, she has said publicly. Every one that gets renovated and reoccupied helps the town. The goal isn't to flip all of them for profit. Some she may live in, some she may sell. The shape of the plan is still forming. What is not forming, what is completely settled, is the cadence. New video every Sunday, every Sunday. That consistency is not incidental to the financial picture. It's the foundation of it. A channel that posts once a week, every week, without a gap, builds a library that generates income long after the original upload. Her older videos still pull views. The money from a video published 2 years ago still deposits this month. She has built a passive income machine inside an active lifestyle channel, and she is currently financing a 3rd renovation with the proceeds of the 2nd. A health insurance salary that didn't cover the mortgage turned into $60,000 in real estate profit, which turned into a $1 house, which turned into a channel with 75 million views, which turned into an estimated $500,000 net worth at 31 years old. The number surprises people not because it's extravagant, it isn't, but because it was built entirely from doing something most people look at and think they could do too. The difference is that Tia actually did it, and she did it without stopping, without a team behind her, and in a place nobody would have chosen if the only goal was to get rich quickly. As of July 2026, she's already deep into renovation number 3, uploading every single Sunday, and adding equity to a small-town North Dakota portfolio that most people watching from their apartments would find difficult to believe is real. The question the comments keep coming back to is one worth actually sitting with. Do you think someone with no training, no budget, and no industry contacts can build something like this from scratch in 2026, or has that window already closed?